Hi, this is Linda from North Central Texas, and we're going to fix a dish today that we're going to be using the cottage cheese that we made the other day from that gallon of milk. First of all, we're going to take a pound of ground beef. And we're going to brown it in our pan. This is just a really simple lasagna dish. We're going to use probably about a half a cup or so of onions. Just white diced onions. Two cloves of garlic minced or just cut up, chop it up. Or if you have some that's already chopped, put about a teaspoonful of garlic in there. Put a little bit of pepper. I think this one's about empty. Gonna put a little bit of salt. And some Italian seasoning. About 3/4 of a teaspoonful will be fine. And I may have too much meat, but if I do, because this recipe calls for a 9 by 13 inch pan, and I broke my 9 by 13 inch pan, so I don't have one. So I'm using one that's a little smaller. So it's probably not going to take all of this ground beef or the sauce, but I can use it for something else. I hadn't really planned on fixing lasagna, but I wanted to show you what you could do with the homemade cottage cheese. I just flipped. I love lasagna. But you know, all your recipes call for ricotta cheese and all these expensive cheeses. But if you ended up making your own cottage cheese from your gallon of milk that maybe you had, you've already got your cheese right there that you can use. And then you can use you some mozzarella, maybe a little bit of Parmesan if you have it. But you've already got your ricotta cheese, because you can use your cottage cheese that you made, which is the best cottage cheese in the world, to put in your lasagna. That way you don't have to buy ricotta. I don't remember how much ricotta is, but it's not real cheap, but I guess it's not real expensive either. I was watching the eclipse a little while ago. It was kind of neat. I didn't see it very well because, you know, I don't have the glasses. But it was really weird how everything got funky looking outside. It got kind of dark. And I haven't even thought about it until my son messaged me, Mom, and he says, Mom, what do you think of the eclipse? And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about it. I had noticed it was getting a little dark outside, but I thought that was just an overcast day. So then he sent me a link that you could watch the actual eclipse. Somebody was filming it. And that was pretty neat. Yeah, I got a bit much onion in here, but that's okay. I like onions. They'll cook down. It'll just keep me from putting onion powder in there. I went ahead and got this big frying pan because I was afraid that my little frying pan wouldn't hold it once I put the sauce in here. Normally I would make my own sauce with tomatoes, but I don't have any fresh tomatoes in the garden this summer. I mean, I had grown the bushes, but it got so hot and dry I just didn't have any. It didn't produce but one or two little tomatoes all summer. But I also wanted to show you, I went to Dollar Tree and I got the oven ready lasagna so I don't have to cook them before I put them in my dish. So that'll be neat. And if I had my freezer here right now, because I got a freezer coming, I would cook 2 of these and put one in the freezer. In fact, I may do that anyway if I run out of so much stuff. I mean, I've got a little dish. It has its own lid. Doesn't need to be washed. It's been in the cabinet for a while because I hadn't been using it. But this is something you can do. You can make 2 of them and freeze one. You know, if you have a little pan, you don't have a very big pan. If you have enough, you can freeze one and then eat one. That way you've got a lasagna that's already cooked, and all you have to do is heat it up in the microwave or put it in the oven for a little bit, and you've already got a cooked lasagna. I'll have that ready just in case I think I might need it. I mean, I may decide not to do that, but we'll see. But it's there anyway. And since I don't have tomatoes in my garden, I just opted to get a can of traditional pasta sauce. And that also was from Dollar Tree. It was $1.25, $1.25. So $2.50. The price of my meat, which was maybe $4. And then, of course, the price of my onions, which I already had onions here. I already had the meat here, too, but I'm saying, you know what, $4 maybe for the 1 pound of ground beef, $2.50 for your pasta sauce and your pasta. And since you already made your cottage cheese, there's your ricotta cheese. And I had a package of Parmesan, which I said you don't have to use Parmesan. I mean, you can. It calls for mozzarella cheese if you have it. I do have some mozzarella. But you don't have to be exact. You don't have to go exactly by recipes. Like I said, recipes are not written in stone. You can change them up. I'm really making a mess. I don't like stuff to splatter over. But since we've already got our sauce, we don't have to simmer our sauce as long as we would if we were making it from scratch. A lot of times I just take a couple of cans of tomatoes, I'll dump them in and I'll start adding my spices and make my own sauce. But this time I just opted to get a can of the sauce already made from Dollar Tree. But I want to cook those onions a little bit, right along with the garlic, get everything all mixed up good. And you already know I don't cook like everybody else. But what better way to make good use of a gallon of milk that maybe is getting ready to go out of date, not out of date yet, but say it's the last day and you know the milk is good. Make you some cottage cheese. And use it in your pasta recipes. Or some people may buy too much milk and they've got to do something with a gallon so you can make cottage cheese. I mean, don't let your milk go to waste, you know. There's things you can do with it. And I guess I talk too much. Some people say they like the fact that I talk in my videos, but sometimes I think I talk too much. I repeat myself. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and throw me some basil leaves in here, because I'm just adding a little bit to the recipe from my garden. Went out there and picked basil a while ago. I just got the very top tender leaves. To me, it's not an Italian dish if you don't put basil in it. If you have dried basil, that's fine too. Burnt my finger. And instead of trying to chop it up, I'm just breaking it up with my fingers. I don't care if there's a hunk of basil in there. You have to chop up your meat just a little bit because you don't want great big old hunks. And you can chop up your onions a lot finer than I did mine. I don't care because, you know, like I said, I like onions. I don't mind if I've got a piece of onion in my food. Well, that was a no-brainer. Thought I was putting it in my pan and I put it all over the stove. I'm going to go ahead and open my can of tomato sauce. I'm going to go ahead and heat my oven to 375. That can be hot, getting hot while I finish this. Turn that down just a tiny bit. And I'm going to pour in my sauce. If you have really fatty ground beef, you can always drain the juice, the grease off of it. That's up to you. Mine was really not that fatty, so I'm leaving the what little bit of oil that was in there because it makes the lasagna even better. Put in just a tiny bit of water. Now basically all you have to do is get this mixed up well. Get it warmed up so it's not cold. So your sauce is already hot when you put it in your pan, you know, when you're building your lasagna. You can simmer this for a while if you want. There's no need to do that because you're going to cook it for about 30-40 minutes in the oven when we get the lasagna built. So it's up to you if you want to do that. But we need a little bit of water because we don't want our sauce to be too thick, because the lasagna noodles will retain some of the moisture, and we don't want a really dry lasagna. I mean, we don't want it soupy, but we don't want it real dry either. And the cheeses and the other stuff will soak up some of that moisture. Okay. About how much of this I needed. But what we're going to do is put I'm going to add some of my cheese. Because it's not going to take all of this. That looks so good. Probably about that much. About half of what I had here. We're going to mix in, I thought I had an egg out. We're going to mix in 1 egg in our cheese, our ricotta, or in this case it's our cottage cheese. My cheese is already salted, so I'm not going to add salt. Just mix it up real good. And this is just to keep your ricotta cheese from, or your cheese from just oozing out of the side of your lasagna when you cut it, or when you go to dig into it to eat it. It kind of holds it together a little bit more. think I'm going to add just a little bit more cheese. Because I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to need to put in my lasagna. That should be enough. I'm also going to put in, and I didn't get my parsley chopped up real good, but I'm going to add some of my chopped parsley into my cheese. I think I can probably use all of it. I don't sweat the small stuff, y'all. If it's not chopped up really, really fine, I don't care. It's still in there and it makes it good. But just get your cheese, about 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons, no, it was 2 tablespoons. I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. About 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley. Or you can use maybe 1 tablespoon of dried parsley. It's up to you. But then mix it up with your cottage cheese and your egg. And set that aside. And that is simmered enough because, like I said, we've already had that sauce made. It was pre-made for us. Spoon, spoon, spoon. This is not the one I wanted. Let's see, here it is. I want the plastic one. And we're going to put just a tiny bit of our sauce in the bottom of the pan. And that's just to keep it all from sticking. And there's no need to measure it. I mean, if you cover the bottom pretty good, it doesn't have to be real thick, just as long as you've got some sauce down there. Now, we're going to take our... And I'm probably going to have to break these because, like I said, I don't have a 9 by 10... I mean, a 9 by 13 pan. So I'm just going to break them a little bit and make them fit. And like I said, these are pre-cooked, so I don't have to worry about cooking them. Put a little bit of sauce over that, not much. Come in with some of our ricotta cheese. And you can just daub it on there, that's fine. Doesn't have to be exact. Yeah, I would buy another 10 by 13 or 9 by 13 inch pan, but I never really have need for that big a pan. Now you can put a little bit of mozzarella if you have it. Get this open. Get my Parmesan open. Put a little bit of Parmesan, not much. Or you can just wait and put your Parmesan on the top. I like to add a little bit inside, just for the flavor. Now we're going to add some more of our sauce. Whoops. Noodles first. Then we'll put sauce. One time I put them one way, the next time I put them the other way. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just like doing that. A little bit more sauce. And if your sauce is not watery enough, remember you can always add a little water to your sauce, because you don't want it dry when it finishes. And mine's liable to still come out dry, because I have a tendency to underwater it, put it that way. I don't usually put enough water. My cheese. Don't know if I'll get another layer on there or not. You just keep repeating the process till you get it to the top. Yeah, I don't think I'll have enough to do a second one. What did I do with my spatula? Oh, here it is. I'm going to scrape all that goodness out of that pan. Now we're going to top off with our remaining cheese here. I guess that just right was enough for this one. Because you know your lasagna recipes usually call for cottage cheese anyway. So why not just use your cottage cheese to begin with? Now we're going to top with the mozzarella cheese. And some Parmesan. Now another thing that I do, just like I had always done before, I get a cookie sheet and I put my pan in my cookie sheet. Because I do not want that to turn, to drip over in my oven. And I'm not sure it's going to bubble over or not. Another thing that I had forgot was to get my aluminum foil. Yep, you need aluminum foil, and I'm sorry about the camera. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil and cook it for about 25 minutes. And notice I'm putting a few toothpicks on here because I don't want my aluminum foil if I can get it down toward the bottom. Yeah, since I put the oops. These will just help keep the aluminum foil off of your cheese. So when you take it off, it doesn't take all your cheese off with it. Hopefully. Just make sure you get your toothpicks out when you take your aluminum foil off. And sometimes I may want to bend over. But if you're careful putting it on, you'll not bend your toothpicks down. And that's just to keep the top of your cheese from burning while it's heating up, while it's cooking. Now, like I said, I'm going to put it in for 25 minutes. Then I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take the cover off or the aluminum foil off. I'll take the toothpicks out, put it back in for another 25 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer and I'll be back. Well, I think it's been in there for about 25 minutes. And when you're making something like this, if you've got baked potatoes, or, not baked potatoes, but if you have potatoes or anything of that nature that you want to cook, save energy and cook them while you're making your lasagna. And like I said, you got to remember to take all the toothpicks out. You don't want any toothpicks left in there. You don't want anybody to have wood in there. And I lucked out because there was just enough in this, even though it was a small pan, that it didn't bubble over. So now, we're going to just simply put it right back in there for another 25 minutes until the cheese is brown. And I'm going to save that because I'll probably just cover up my lasagna with it. So let it cook for another 25 minutes and we'll be right back. Okay, it's been another 25 minutes. So we'll see what our lasagna looks like. It's all bubbling, and that's what I knew it would do. And I think it's browned enough. But you're supposed to let it set for a few minutes before you try to cut it. And it started bubbling over. If it had any more sauce in there, it would have been dripping on my pan. And that's exactly why I always put my lasagna or my casserole dishes in a cookie sheet before I put them in the oven to bake them, because 9 times out of 10, that casserole or the lasagna, the sauce is going to boil over the edge of the pan a lot of times. And this is to save you a headache of trying to clean that burnt lasagna sauce or casserole juice that's in the bottom of your oven. So I'd rather clean the pan than to clean the oven. So there it is. Now, ideally, you should leave this set for like 25 minutes to 30 minutes before you cut into it to let it settle. But I'm hungry, and for the video, I'm going to cut it now. I have basil on my plate. Better put my glove on to hold this because I know it's hot. See, those lasagna noodles are all cooked. Now, I'm not sure. This knife might be the best bet to get this out. Yeah, see, if you wait, it'll set up. And it won't be so stringy. I mean, it won't fall over when you cut it. It'll stay intact. But like I said, for the video, I went ahead and jumped the gun on it. But yeah, in the ideal world, just leave it set for about 20 to 30 minutes and let it settle down from cooking. Let it set up a few minutes, and that way, you know, it's not going to do like this. It'll stay intact and it'll look more like a square. But don't that look good, y'all? That looks good to me. I'm going to give you a close-up look at this. See that? Doesn't it look good? Looks good to me. And we did it with our homemade cottage cheese that we turned into basically ricotta cheese. So, I got to try it. Dear Lord, bless this food we're about to eat. Bless all of our people that are watching, YouTubers. Keep them safe, happy, and well. Amen. You take the first bite. Look at that stringy cheese. It's hot. Mmm. You talk about something that's winning. This is winning, y'all. Mmm. So don't throw your leftover milk away. If you got abundance of milk, or if you got some that's running out of date, make your cottage cheese. Use that instead of ricotta cheese to make your lasagna. And your lasagna won't cost you quite as much to make it per plate. I mean, per dish. Buy some stuff at the Dollar Tree, too. A lot of times theirs is cheaper than anywhere else. I mean, in this case, grant you the lasagna noodles and the sauce, you probably could have gotten at any store relatively for the same price. But I was in Dollar Tree. So I decided to pick some up while I was there. But there you go, y'all. Homemade lasagna with homemade cottage cheese. Mmm. That is so good. Oh my God. You just gotta fix you some. And with that, I'll see you on my next one. Bye now.